Jesus said, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment. And the second is like it," he said. "You shall love your neighbor as yourself. And on these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets." It's pretty good stuff, but I want to talk about Halloween for a while. If you don't mind, we'll get to the Bible stuff and Jesus in a little bit. Halloween is just around the corner, and we'll be handing out candy to the children. They'll be knocking on our doors all dressed up in all kinds of different costumes and everything. It's going to be an exciting night with them walking around with their little pumpkin buckets and the little flashlights they have so they can be safe and not get run over by a car. And we parents will also enjoy, even if we don't have any small children at home, we'll enjoy watching them and their excitement, and it'll help us to remember and recall what Halloween was like when we were kids as well. As far as Halloween is concerned, they've been doing a lot of advertising on the TV about, where you can get the best candy for the best deal and where you can get a really good costume 50% off. And I want to tell you, because I'm your pastor and I want to help you, there is a Halloween city right across the street up here where the big lots used to be, and you can get a costume for near nothing. So if you want to save some money and you haven't got a costume yet, go to Halloween City. But what I've been enjoying most about this Halloween pre-season, besides all the decorations that people put in their yards, those stick-in-the-ground scarecrows and stuff, you talk about tacky. Oh, God. But you don't have one in your yard, do you? Please, please. But anyway, they got lights hanging all over my neighbor's yard, and they got this stuff you spray out to make it look like spider webs and stuff. And they got this big spider hanging in there. It makes you wonder, do they really want the kids to come up there and get candy when they're going to scare them so bad? But one thing I've really, 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 really enjoyed this pre-season of Halloween is this one particular commercial advertising candy on TV. There's this little boy dressed up like a werewolf or Batman or something, and he's standing in front of a bowl of candy. And he's just standing there. There's nobody there to give out the candy. It's, some people will sit it at the end of the driveway. You've seen that. What does that tell you about those people? How much they really love children. But anyway, this bowl of candy, and it's huge, and it's got the good stuff in it. It's got Butterfingers, Snickers, Twix, all the good chocolate stuff, not this pop mess and gummy bears and all that kind of stuff that we can get and we give to the kids because we don't want to have the good stuff around because we'll end up eating it. But anyway, there's this kid standing there, and he's just perplexed. And this little girl, about this big, comes running up to the bowl and reaches in there and takes a handful. Have you seen the commercial? Takes a handful of candy and rakes it in her bag. And the little boy says, the sign says, "Take one." And she says, "I can't read." And then she reaches in and takes one for the road. And then the commercial fades away as the little boy is standing there perplexed. And we never get to see what he does or does not do. But you know what? He is in a dilemma because he knows in his heart what is right. But there is another voice in his head saying, there's nobody watching. Maybe this one time I can do something that I know is wrong, and get by with it. And this is a struggle that's going on in his head and in his heart. He's got to be a Lutheran because he is giving it his best effort. I would love for the commercial to finish off after Halloween is over and tell us what the little boy did about the candy. Now let's get to Jesus. How many times this past week have you been faced with a dilemma trying to decide whether or not to do what you know is right or to do what you know is the easiest for you? I get these little pamphlets from Mayo Clinic that talks about how to be a healthy person. And one of the interesting things I read this week was that they're telling you how to proportion your food. That your plate should be 75% vegetables, maybe 10% carbohydrates. But the funny thing about what they're telling you to do as far as meat is concerned, that it shouldn't be more than 4 ounces. Your palm. I took Aaron and Meg and Ginger out to Chicago's the other night. And the reason we like to go to Chicago's is because they have the best prime rib in the world. And they cook it the way I like it, which means they don't cook it. It's basically raw. Can you see Aaron and I saying, we just want 4 ounces? Now, I knew in my heart I shouldn't have 25 ounces of prime rib. I even sent a $10 bill back to the chef to make his arm slip when he cuts my piece. And I knew what was right. I knew that prime rib has saturated fat in it. I know that it clogs up your arteries. But I was in a dilemma that lasted 35 seconds. And I lost. We're always confronted with things that are easier said than done. And not only does the world confront us with things that are easier said than done, like stop signs. You know, when there's nobody coming. And stuff like that, and speed limits. 35 on Trickham is ridiculous. You know that. And nobody drives 35 on Trickham. But we know we should be driving slowly because of all the entrances and so forth. That's a safe thing to do. I got in front of a policeman the other day. He was behind me. And he happened to be a member of the church. And I talked to him afterwards, and he said, I said, I saw you behind me the other day. And he said, yes, why don't you go on? And I was going 35. He didn't even want me to go 35 on Trickham. But these dilemmas are everywhere. And you know what's aggravating about these dilemmas? Is that we can't get away from them even on Sunday. When we come to church, we are faced with even more dilemmas. Jesus says that the 2 greatest commandments of all of the commandments is that you should love God with all your heart, mind, body, and soul. And then the second one is you should love your neighbor as yourself. All of these things are easier said than done. We have all kinds of things that Jesus confronts us with that is so easy to say. And we know that it would be the right thing to do. One of the commandments is to remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. We were talking outside before church started, hoping there'd be more than 6 people here at the early service. Sandra's sitting in here all by herself, didn't have a soul to talk to. Where is everybody on Sunday? Church attendance in the Lutheran church, I told you, on any given Sunday, only 28% of Lutherans who are registered and on membership rolls attend church. Where are the other 72%? It's hard. We know what is right. We know what is wrong. But as human beings, the old Adam in us more often than not, we'll win. And as the weather cools off, and you're lying in bed on Sunday morning and you hadn't turned your heat on yet, and there's somebody next to you that feels so good, and you're thinking, do I really want to get up at 6 o'clock and start getting ready for church? Why don't we just lay out this week? Why don't we skip it this one time? Or at 10:30, we're having a cup of coffee and we're enjoying a TV program or something, and we're thinking, I've heard all Pastor Grunke's sermons. He says the same thing every week, blah, 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 blah. He talks about football, talks about commercials. Jesus will let me off the hook this one time. So many times we are faced with dilemmas as Christians, knowing what is right, but end up doing what is wrong. And today, Jesus summarizes all of those dilemmas into 2 commandments. And he said, I'll tell you what I want you to do. You say you appreciate the gift of salvation through grace alone. You celebrate it. You say you love it. You say how happy you are that I gave my life for your life. That I gave you the opportunity to spend eternity in the kingdom of heaven simply by believing that I took care of all of the requirements. You know what the gospel is, and you constantly say, I would love to thank you for this. I'd love to show you my appreciation. So Jesus is telling us today 2 ways we can really show him how much we appreciate what he has done for us on the cross. He says, I want you to love the Lord. I want you to love me above all else. Go out into the world and just love me. And the best way to show that love is to love your neighbor as yourself. And then once a week, just once a week, come in here and love me. Come in here and tell me how much you appreciate my grace, my forgiveness, my encouragement. Tell me how much you appreciate me answering your prayers. Just tell me how much you appreciate me. Love me with all your heart, mind, body, and soul. And on these 2 commandments, all the law and prophets are fulfilled. Now, this is easier said than done. So we have a dilemma. What are we going to do about it? Is it really possible to love God with all our heart, mind, body, and soul? Is it really possible to love our neighbors as ourselves? Absolutely. But we need some help. We need some help. And Jesus sends us out into the world every single week with that help. He says, I'm going to give you the power and the strength you need to face any dilemma out there and be successful at it. I'm going to give you my own body, my own blood, and the good news that I love you very much. I think as that commercial ends, I'm looking at those 2 children. The little girl that takes all the candy with her hand and tells the older boy, the older man, older kid, I can't read. That was a lie. That little girl could read. You know, do you do that and you lie about it? She's really in trouble. But as a Lutheran pastor, I can see Jesus looking down on both of those children and saying, I love you both. And so whether we win or whether we lose, whether we are successful or whether we fail, I want you to know that God loves you anyway. But he also wants us to go out of these 2 doors and never give up. We know what is right. We know what is wrong. We know the 2 greatest commandments of all of them. When we leave here, let us go with the strength to do them. Amen.